when I went in the Air Force, my sister told me now would be a good time to go in the Air Force because you'll go south and you'll be out of the winter in New Jersey. Because I went in September. And I was going to go to Amarillo, Texas. So when I got there, we did an aptitude test. Basic training was 16 weeks. I only did 4 weeks because they said my aptitude came back and they were sending me to a school. And they sent me to Amarillo, Texas to go to single engine jet fighter mechanic school. And so I figured, well, I'm still in Texas. Although we did get on a train, and I was on the train all day long in Texas, going from San Antonio to Amarillo. And in Amarillo, it was pretty good. It was during the day. The classes were during the day. It did get to be winter, and then they had the worst winter that they had ever had. We had snow up to the second story of windows in the barracks. It was 2-story. But the neat part about it was basic training was 4 guys to a room, and when I got to Amarillo, there was only 3 guys to a room. They had individual showers. So I would suggest everybody go in the Air Force, because you didn't have to carry a weapon around with you, or you didn't have to do any of that stuff. So it was kind of nice. During the school, they told us if we were in the top 10% of our class, we could pick where we wanted to go as far as going to bases. So I wasn't very good in school, high school, but I really applied myself. And I was number 4 in the class out of 81 guys. So I knew I would get my choice of base. I'd go to choose my base, all of them in Florida. And they said, you're not choosing your base, we're sending you to another school. And then we're sending you to Massachusetts. I didn't know where Massachusetts was. I said, and especially Chicopee Falls. So the school that they sent us to was in Washington State. It was Boeing Aircraft Company School. In that school, we went to 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 12 o'clock at night. And we did that for 3.5 months. And during that time, we stayed at the YMCA. Cost us $3 a day, and the Air Force paid, of course. They gave us money when we left Amarillo to fly, but I wanted to save that money, so we took a bus. It took 2.5 more days to get there by bus, but I saved a lot of money. Graduated that school, went to Massachusetts, to Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts, to Air Force Base. And I was a mechanic on the KC-135, which is a refueling aircraft. But they didn't have the aircraft. They had just reciprocating engines. They didn't have jet engines. So the sergeant told me anything I could find to do would be fine with him. So the first year I was there, I was the lifeguard at the base pool.
Cut.
And then the aircraft got there, and we worked on the aircraft. We had a team, a swimming team at Westover, and you could compete at the base, and if you won any of the swimming events, then you got to go to Worldwide, which was held in Washington, D.C. And I had won 4 events at the base, so I got to go to Washington. 3 other guys got to go to Washington. So we decided to go with my car because I had a 1953 Plymouth convertible that I had customized a little bit. And we were going to go to Florida because we had 30 days to get there before the and we got as far as South Carolina. We had been driving it was forever, we thought. So we bought a newspaper and had some grits and then turned around and went back to Washington because none of us had ever had grits, and we wanted to get a newspaper just to prove that we had gone that far. And then we didn't do well at all at Washington because it was worldwide Air Force Championship, and it seemed that all the guys from Hawaii won, either Hawaii or California. But that's all they did. I don't think they were just swimmers in the Air Force. I don't think they did anything else.
What years did you leave the Air Force?
1960.
And you just...
No, it was before 60 because we were married in 59.
Yeah.
That was a couple of years before that.
No, it wasn't a couple of years. And it was 59 and we got out. No, it wasn't. No, wasn't Beth born
In 59.
with the Air Force?
No.
Okay, well
You
then
got out in
I got out in
October.
September or October in 59,
You just timed out.
and then went to work for gas stations.
When did you, let's back up a little bit. When did you meet Bo?
It was
58.
I was going roller skating. We had a roller skating rink in Springfield, and I went roller skating I think it was the beginning of 58. I don't think, because we went out for a year.
Yeah.
So, and I saw this little redhead in the rink, and I said, that was interesting. So I tried my damnedest. I asked her, I said, do you want me to give you a ride home? She said, no, I came with my girlfriends. I'm leaving with my girlfriends. The next time I was there, she was there. I asked her again. She said, no. I think the third time that I asked, she said, next week, I'll plan on, you can give me a ride home. Well, I came the next week, she wasn't there. She didn't come.
I don't know what happened.
You went to a dance with your cousin. Yeah.
Do you have any recollection?
Well, that's what you said you did. Let's put it that way.
What
Do
did
you have any recollection of that?
Yeah, I remember him skating by, and he was skating, coming toward me, and then he turned, thought he was going to be really cool, and he tripped. I thought, oh boy, is this guy a jackass? But I do remember him asking me, and I'm not going to get in a car with a total stranger.
And she thought I drove from New Jersey to come up and roller skate. She didn't even know there was an Air Force base nearby.
And I did not. Springfield was my home. Chicopee was another whole country. The furthest I had gone was West Springfield. And that was around the corner, and that only because Memorial Drive, it was part of it. But I didn't know there was an Air Force base.
What was your first date? Was it roller skating again?
First date, no.
Movie.
Yeah, he picked me up. I told him where I lived. I don't know.
She told me where she lived. And I said, I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock. So that day I went by to find the house before,
He what do you call that? Reconnoitered?
yeah, so just to make sure I didn't get lost. And I remember I had a black and gray striped sweater on with a white shirt underneath it. And I rang the doorbell at 7 o'clock. And I went in, and the place was packed. Well, there was maybe 8 people in there.
Maybe.
Yeah. And the only person I remember when we left was Joe. I was introduced to everybody, but the only one I remembered was Joe.
What do you remember from Joe?
Well, I remember his name. That was it. So.
But the reason why the house was packed, so it wasn't packed, but my father got visitors because this was 2 years. We had moved in to this house. He was hurt in 55. We moved in 57 to 35 Warrington Street. So it was a curiosity because the city built the house and everybody
all the
had
furnishings
come
were donated.
Oh, it wasn't a curiosity of Dad coming over. It was a curiosity of just your father.
Well,
So-
both my father in a chair, which he hated, and the house the city built, So no one had been to see it or whatnot. And this was early, right after my father got home. And they, like, on an evening, 1 or 2 people would come in. And then someone, I was driving by, so we thought we'd stop. It was a curiosity,
Well,
people.
I'm trying to get to pretty much the family thing. Like, when you met the family for the first time, the only thing you remember is Joe. Like when you went to go visit her family, when you went to go visit his family, what was that like?
Okay, when was the first time I went to visit your family? I don't really remember.
When we went on vacation.
I think that was the first time. Yeah. He
Well,
invited me.
it wasn't really a vacation. It was a weekend.
Yeah, it was a weekend. Yeah. No, they were on vacation.
They were on vacation, and we went up for the weekend.
And we went up for the weekend, and it was Lake Winnipesaukee. So I couldn't stay with them. So my mother-in-law, his mother, rented a room, like just a room in a little, and it was like an old folks' home. So, thinking back, I don't think it was an old folks' home.
No,
What I
it was-
think it was
People come there and vacation, but they
Vacation.
were separate rooms for people.
Do you remember what you thought of his family though?
okay, what did I liked his dad. His mother I wasn't really too crazy about, but that's the way it was. But she liked me, thank God.
Mhm.
But I thought she was a little pretentious, But that was her demeanor. She always had that haughty kind of looking down her nose at you. But that was the way she was, I don't think it was anything she put on, just the way she was. But she was very good to me.
So when
And,
you got to meet the mother and father really for the first time, I mean, really talk to them or anything like that, what did you think of that?
Well, he came for dinner every night for 6 months.
Well, it was well after that first date. But
My mother says, is he going to start paying rent?
Yeah. I could have my car for 6 months. The car was registered in New Jersey, and they wouldn't let the car be out of the state for more than 6 months. So I had to choose whether I had the car in the winter or the summer. And I had a convertible, so I figured I'll have the car in the summer, and in the winter I won't have a car.
So is that why you're over our house a lot? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
I would hitchhike over there and have dinner. I would hitchhike, which was maybe 10 miles, maybe
At
even
least
more.
that.
Yeah.
So your mother must have been kind of annoyed because here's this grown man coming eating all this food, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you
right.
didn't eat like a little.
Well, he had a hearty appetite.
Well, there was plenty of food.
Yeah, I mean, we never skimped on food.
Yeah.
How'd you propose?
Uh,
We got. I don't remember anything about. I know we were engaged, but I don't remember that part of it. I do remember we were going to get married in June, and the Air Force was sending me to
Nebraska.
to Nebraska, and I was going in January. So I said, do you want to go with me to Nebraska? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, do we want to get married now, or do we want to get married in June? So that was about it.
Is that what you remember, Mom?
Well, I was working at Mass Mutual then.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if I went down to the atrium because it was lunchtime or whatever. And that's what he said to me. And it was before January. It was like November or something like that. It was earlier because we had no time to prepare for a wedding. And that's what he said. He says, do you want to go to... We had been dating that whole time. And he says, do you want to go to Nebraska? What we thought was if I went with it, we'd get more money, because then you're a spouse and you get twice as much or whatever it was. I don't even know what it was. But so I said, okay. Now I had to go tell my mother because we were kind of contemplating May, June, something in the summer in the future, 6 months. And I think my mother was kind of hoping it would go by without marriage, but that's okay. But so then I went home and said to my mother, Tom's being transferred and we're going to get married before we go. Well, that's when it hit the fan. How are you going to prepare a wedding in less than 6 weeks? So I said, how about if we, looking at the calendar, how about January 10th? Because it was like 6 weeks. And she says, oh, you can't get married on January 10th. So-and-so's daughter's getting married that day. And if my friends go to her weddings, who's going to come to your wedding? And it wasn't that we missed the friends. It was the envelope. That was the big deal. If they gave the envelope to that one, they're not going to send you an envelope, So I said, no, I want to get married on January 10th. And at this point, I really wasn't really focused on why I had to get married on January 10th, but I kind of figure it might have been that time of the month too, So I thought, okay, I want to get married. And oh my God, my mother and I had screaming matches. It really was kind of a very terrible time. And my brother was there, and the arguing, between my mother and I was really getting contentious. And my brother says, he says, Ma, she's getting married January 10th, and that's the end of it. She's getting married January 10th. And that's when I got married. Went to the church, made the appointment, and I got married on January. It was the most miserable time in my whole life because, that tension, and my mother and I, and who's going to walk you down the aisle? Your father can't take you down the aisle. I said, Joe will take me down the aisle. I said, no, I want my father to walk me. I was stupid. I mean, dug in. And my father did take me down the aisle. And my brother was his best man, I think. And it wasn't a very, the prenuptial gaiety and all that. Nah,
So,
none of that.
so the wedding day was.
The wedding day was good.
Wedding day was good. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
it snowed. The limousine wouldn't start. Broke down halfway to the church.
But other than that,
And I mean, we had snow up to here.
yeah.
I mean, you're in Massachusetts, January. What was I thinking? But anyway,
What about the ceremony and the party and the afterwards and stuff like that? That was all good.
yeah, we went to the Dante Club,
Yeah.
and we had almost 350 people at the wedding. I mean, it was a big wedding. And, I do remember a shower I had in my mother's basement. I had a shower, and that was just before the wedding. And I still have some of those things. But the wedding went off without a hitch. We had a good time. My brother, 10 months later, had his wedding the same way I had it at the Dante Club. 10 months.
What about she mentioned a shower real quick. Did you have a bachelor party?
No.
No. And going back, did you guys go to Nebraska?
No. They canceled the orders when they found out I was getting married. They wanted single men. For whatever reason.
And then that's when
The counting
the
sta-
finger
the counting
counting came up.
started because
Yeah.
we were going to get married in June, but we got married in January. What's up?
And he's still there,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
What about the sorry, jump forward again. What about honeymoon? Where did you guys go?
Well, we walked out of we went home, got dressed, and came back to the wedding, and we thought we were hot shit, didn't we? God. But
These
my
with a
mother
little
and father had gotten us. Number one, I asked for a week off from the Air Force. Couldn't get it because I had taken off time to help my mother and father move a month prior. So I took a week off then. They wouldn't give me a week off for the wedding. I said, but I'm getting married. They said, we don't give a damn. So we had a weekend. So my mother and father paid for a weekend at the Astor Hotel in New York City.
Astoria.
Astoria Hotel?
Astoria.
Astor Hotel? Not the same?
No,
Maybe.
not the same,
Okay.
no.
All right, well, anyhow, very, very ritzy hotel. We drive up in a Plymouth 53 Plymouth convertible that you had to push on the handle and then open it up. Of course, the doorman comes out to get Gloria out of the car. Can't get her out of the car because he's, messing with the door. Finally gets it. Then they're going to park the car, and you have to tell them how to drive this old thing.
But when we drove into New York, we saw the hotel,
Oh, yeah.
in downtown. We saw the hotel. So Tom says, it's right there. Oh, good.
Every street we came up
And
to,
then
we
it's
couldn't turn
do
right.
not enter, do not enter, do not enter. So we're going around, and
You
we're in the
couldn't- never-
same place
Never could get to the hotel.
3 times.
So finally, I just,
No,
turn.
you ask the cop,
yeah.
and he
It's-
says, "Oh, stop the cars, go this way."
Yeah.
What about so honeymoon happens. What about your first apartment? What was that like? Or first house? First apartment.
First apartment
We lived with Donnie and Nono.
in the very beginning.
for 3 months.
Then
How
we
was
found an apartment.
Besides eating them out of house and home, how was that living with them?
It wasn't pleasant. It was not. It was tough. It was tough.
It was fine with me
Because
I was
my
gone all day.
sister Rita was there, my brother Joe was there, and we had my bedroom. We had 2 bedrooms up on the second floor.
Upstairs.
My brother was downstairs, my mom and dad over here. I mean, you had a house full, you know?
Yeah.
There was absolutely no privacy. Not that at that point. But,
One TV.
yeah, right. And my father didn't like me sitting next to my boyfriend before that.
Oh,
Yeah. And once we got
He
married,
would be in the living room on a chaise lounge, laying down,
he
and
was- yeah.
then he would be in the chair. That was about it.
well, what about the first place you lived as a by yourself?
That was on Carlisle Street.
Yeah.
And the reason why we got that was because it was close to Mass Mutual.
Yeah, right around the corner from Mass Mutual.
How much was
3rd floor, 3 room, a kitchen, living room, and a bedroom. Furnished.
And the bathroom was out in the hall. I mean, you had to go out in the hall
Yeah.
because the bathroom was like an add-on.
How much
So-
was it?
32 or 38.
I think it was 32, but I don't know because
A month? Or
A month.
yeah. It had, the stove was a 3-burner stove. It had the porcelain back and then a porcelain tray with the flue going out and a
Off the
little
chimney.
dinky oven. I don't think we ever baked anything in that
I
oven.
baked the steak because I wanted to broil the steak.
Yeah.
No broiler.
Broiler. So
So she did all the cooking and
Yeah.
yeah. When
My first meal was, I remember, meatloaf. I didn't even know how to make meatloaf. It was like a brick. But
And we asked the people, can we bring in our own furniture? They said, no, it's furnished. I said, well, we want our own bed. So
we did get that.
people around us said, there was no TV either. And so I wanted to buy a TV. So they said, don't buy an Admiral TV and don't buy it from,
Kings.
King's department store. Well, I bought
Which
an
like
Admiral.
Walmart.
I bought an Admiral TV from King's department, But anyhow,
We never listened.
we had this big iron thing. It was freaking huge and heavy, and little dinky stairs going up to the 3rd floor. It was a regular house that they made the apartment for the 3rd floor.
That's why the toilet was outside.
The mother and father lived down. Mother and son lived downstairs.
so tell me about moving to Virginia or something like that. Basically, so how did you tell your parents that you were moving to Virginia? And to follow up, how was it, coming to Virginia, finding a place and working with Uncle Walt? Be first of all, how was it to tell your parents?
Well, when I told my mother, she was hysterical. You're going to leave your father like this and you're going to Virginia? I mean, that was like going from
Another world.
the Earth to Pluto. I mean, their biggest trip was Albany, New York to see their daughter. You didn't travel. They didn't travel.
Well, here
And-
they had gone to Italy.
Yeah. But my father was crippled in a wheelchair. And I'm leaving my father. I mean, that was sinful. I mean, in my mother's eye. But we did it anyway. And she was devastated. I mean, absolutely devastated. And for the first year I was in Virginia, I probably cried every day.
What about Did you get any support from any family about that? Or is it
About moving?
Mm.
His family was good with it, but not my family. My brother wasn't even happy with it. You know, what's in Virginia? The capital of the United States? You know?
So working for Uncle Walt, how did that go? I mean, how do you actually approach you and all that stuff?
By that time, I had left the gas station and I was driving a tractor trailer from Boston to Irving, Texas. Cat food from Boston and swinging beef from Texas. And I was going back and forth to Boston, and I told the truck people, I said, listen, I want to go someplace different than back and forth from Boston. So they said, okay, we have a load of
Produce.
meat going from Texas to Virginia, Colonial stores in Virginia. So I said, oh, okay, cool. So I mentioned it to my mother, and she said, well, your uncle lives in Virginia. Where are you going? And I found out I was going to Norfolk, Virginia, which wasn't too far away from them. So she said, well, call him, see if you can't stay there for a day when you show up. I said, okay. So I get there, emptied the truck, found out I was going to be there for 3 days. So I contacted my uncle and I went and stayed with them. They had 2 houses. One of their daughters lived in one of them, so I stayed with her in that house. And we got talking and all this other stuff, and everything was fine. And then I got in the truck and went back to Massachusetts. And I got home, parked the truck down the street from the house. The next day I went out and the truck was gone. I called the guy who owned the truck and I said, hey, the truck is gone. Did you come get it? He said, no, they probably repossessed it. I said, what do you mean? All the time I was driving for him, he never paid any payments on the truck. So now I'm out of a job. I said, well, what does this mean? He said, this means you don't have a job. So my mother said, so I'm looking for a job. So my mother said, why don't you check with Walt and see if he has something down there in Virginia? So I checked with him and he said, yeah, you can come down and work at the gas station, $100 a week. And I said, well, I don't know about that. And we got talking some more. So I said, well, I'll go down and see what, so I went down, and I don't remember what I drove down.
You borrowed his truck or something?
No, we went when we went back. Because I didn't have a vehicle.
Did he own the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't remember how I got down here. But because I had to use his truck to get back. So I didn't have we didn't have a vehicle at all down here.
Did you negotiate a higher wage than $100 a week, or more, or less, or whatever?
Say that again.
Did you negotiate?
No, $100 a week.
Yeah.
And I thought that was what it was. Well, taxes. So it was less than $100 a week. But I worked for 2 months, I guess, before you guys came down, because it was still school, and didn't want to take the kids out of school. But we started looking for a house. We looked at 3 houses. I went up and got her and my toolbox with
over 4th of July.
Yeah.
It was a long weekend.
And brought her down, and we looked at 3 houses, and we decided on the house that we bought. And then she went back. And then I went back, and I really don't remember how I was going back and forth. Oh, I did hitchhike a couple of times.
I don't know.
So during this time, I mean, it's the '60s. The Vietnam War is going on, segregation, stuff like that. I mean, did that affect your life at all?
No, and you know what?
Were you aware
When
of
I
it?
think back on it, I was not. I mean, in Massachusetts, I didn't even know about segregation because we lived in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It
Same way in New
never.
Jersey.
That's what it was. It never affected our everyday life. And at 19, you got to remember, at 19, 19, the war didn't mean anything to me. I do remember, though, thinking, and I guess it was Rita who, because Rita was married. No, she wasn't married. The war, the segregation, and all those things that were going on were outside of my world.
Well, there was no segregation in New Jersey either. When I was growing
Virginia,
up,
I mean, Virginia, moving down to Virginia.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
but
did you-
we never saw any of that.
yeah.
Again, we moved into a neighborhood, Diamond Spring, that was predominantly white.
I don't remember any blacks in the neighborhood when we moved in.
And it
There
just,
there was across the street.
Ellen
across-
Jacob.
No, across the highway, right across from Northampton, on Bayside Road. straight
Oh, the
across.
Burton Station. Yeah.
That was where the blacks were.
Just never, it never affected us. It was not anything that impacted. But again, I really have to say it was because I was young. We were young. And I was raising kids. And I had a husband who didn't have a job. And life was just taken up with the things you had to do every day. It was not a big deal. And politically, could care less, But I do remember, what was it, 62, 63, Kennedy was killed. I do remember Kennedy. That was probably my first real introduction to politics. And it was because the whole neighborhood loved Kennedy. What was not to love in Kennedy? And that's what we were introduced to. But
Because he was white and Catholic.
yeah, that was two major things. But the political aspect of what was going on in the 60s, and there were high points. But we just never were affected by it.
I saw it once when I was driving truck. I stopped in Texas to ask directions, and it was a black guy that I asked, and a fellow drove up in a pickup truck and told him to shut up, that he has no right to talk to a white guy. And that surprised me. I saw that and I
Did
said,
it surprise you or did it affect you?
well, I don't know if it affected me. It's just I was surprised that somebody would say that.
Yeah.
Because I grew up, where I lived, we had one block, a main street, which was just a 2-lane road, but the next block was black. There was no blacks on our street,
Back up a second.
but we went to school with them.
What year did you move to Virginia?
66, July.
Okay. So let's
27.
fast forward to me being born. Everybody's in the house. Was there any favorite memory of like all of us living at home?
I loved living there. That was a good life for me. I mean, I had all my chicks there,
Was there any
A nice
specific-
neighborhood, a lot of kids in the neighborhood.
I mean, there were
Yeah.
kids that, it was just wonderful. It was a good place to raise children. But what affected why we chose that particular place? The school, proximity to the school.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, the kids could go to school. We could walk back and forth. Never walked. They took a bus. But, you know, it was just the environment. And I'll tell you why I chose that house. Because it was clean.
How many houses did you look at?
3. Can you believe that? In all of Virginia Beach, we walked 3. But number 1, the school. But I never, like you researched high schools, that's what I should have been doing. Because Bayside at the time was good.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
But later on, Cox, First Colonial, those were the premier schools. And I should have been aiming for that
and
kind
we looked
of
at it,
school.
and we looked at a house.
A
over
house
there.
in the Cox neighborhood. But I opened the refrigerator.
Well, they had stolen the.
Everything in the house.
Yeah.
Was there a beach house that you were looking at? Chicks Beach right there?
No. We-
We,
We could not afford that. And I think she knew we were broke. But I mean, the house was awful. But I never saw the potential. That was the house we should have gotten. Because it was in a better school zone. And it had a lot of potential. But there was no fixtures. What was it? And the oven was awful. But you know, those were cosmetic things. But you have to
And
remember,
smell.
we had never,
But it was also on a slab.
yeah, that was your objection.
Yeah, but we never knew what to look for or anything. We
No.
never looked under the house that we bought.
but as far as, I mean, that's the house. What, I mean, as far as when we were all living there, I mean, was there any like event or any sort of time, or was it just all fine, or was there any specific?
Oh, we had, I don't know.
Well, we would do a lot of trips back north.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, so the
But-
family trips to Massachusetts, what were those like for you guys?
God, horrendous.
Well, the first one we went was had a '56 Chevrolet. That was interesting with everybody in it.
I do remember my mother, we had to call after a certain hour for long distance. First thing my mother would ask me, is your husband working? Because that was the big thing.
Well,
That was the
getting
big
back to
thing.
the trips of driving and back and forth and stuff like that. Again, what was that like?
That was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did we
3,
stop?
4 kids in the car.
Did we stop? I can't even remember.
Oh, no. We used to stop. Gas, bathroom,
Once
and you got something to eat.
we would stop just before the Delaware Memorial Bridge, get gas, and that would give us enough gas to get to Massachusetts. So there was no reason to stop. But we would pack stuff, before we left. But then we got, I traded the '56 Chevrolet for a '57 Lincoln. And that was a huge car.
You could put 2, 3 bodies in the trunk.
And nobody was worried about gas mileage because it was 25 cents a gallon, you know?
You keep on mentioning your cars throughout all this conversation, stuff like that. From your first car to your last car, can you name them all? I'm not going to give you a time limit or anything like that.
41, let's see, 41 Buick, 41 Oldsmobile, 49 Chevrolet Torpedo back, 54 Plymouth convertible.
53.
Yeah, 53 Plymouth convertible.
Then that green Chevrolet.
When did we get the Mercury?
The Mercury was in Springfield.
Yeah.
And you got, well, that was
we
the one
had
that,
the Plymouth when we
yeah, that
got
tipped
married.
us over the edge.
And then got a '55 Mercury. And then we started, then after the Mercury, we got a '56 Chevrolet.
Yeah.
And then we were down here, got a '57 Lincoln, 51 Morris Minor. Oh no, we forgot the Renault up in Massachusetts.
Oh my God, yeah.
Renault 4CV.
I mean, I think we counted them one time and it was very loose.
Yeah.
It was 53 cars.
Okay, we'll have to revisit that
Yeah.
at another video probably. Okay, we had this question from Sandy specifically. What about your favorite pet?
Bart.
Yeah.
Bart was a good old dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
What other pets did we have? We had gerbils. We had snakes, right?
We came down here with a cat,
Oh, really?
Pinky,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody shot it.
and it was shot with a BB.
Found it in the bushes in front of the house. By the step.
And I had to go tell the girls.
Yeah.
Kitty cat ran away.
What was the name of it?
Pinky.
Pinky. Did anybody? Do they?
It was
remember?
like Beth's cat.
Was it?
Beth and Paul. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Then we had a dog, Heinz, that bit everybody. And he
Yeah.
ran away.
We had to get rid of him.
Did
We
he
had
run
to
away?
get rid of him. He just ran away. But, I mean, he was in quarantine. And you
Yeah.
can't keep,
Right.
So then
And
we
my
got,
uncle gave us 2 dogs.
yes, Peanut and Pokey.
Pokey and
And
Peanuts.
Peanuts. And those were hunting dogs.
Yeah, they were.
You know hunting dogs climb?
They were
Had fence?
Norwegian elk hounds,
And was he mad when we gave him
and they
away?
climbed the fence, and of course they wouldn't go with each other. So girls and we were all chasing them, trying to get them in. So
And
they
you
got to
know,
be a real pain in the ass. I mean, they were really sweet dogs,
but they were hunters,
and,
you know.
and they were really outside dogs. They weren't inside dogs, because they were about this big.
Oh my
And
God.
my uncle had given them to us, so I figured, well, they're ours. And I don't remember who we gave them to.
I don't
But we
either.
gave them to somebody, and he went livid. You gave them, those are Norwegian elk hound hunting dogs. You gave those away?
But I mean,
But Bart was your favorite?
I'm home with 3 little girls, and the dogs are going this way.
Didn't we have
Sandy,
TJ by
don't
then?
go out of the yard. Sandy goes out of the yard. Beth goes one way. Paula goes another way. I'm chasing Sandy with this dog. I thought to myself, and he came home. I said, they got to go. I can't take them.
But Bart was a good dog.
Bart was not even our dog.
Yeah. Beth found them.
Beth found them. She was
Like the other dog ran
lifeguarding.
away.
At this
Pool.
place,
At
pool.
the pool.
Yeah, at a pool, and this puppy came walking in. I mean, he had to be like 2 months, 6 months tops. Comes walking in the pool. So she put him in the guardhouse and waited for someone to say, "Have you seen my puppy?" Nobody claimed the puppy. He came home. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I found him."
Look how cute.
And we fell in love. Little
Yeah.
Bart the fart. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
All right.
But he was a sweetie.
We
And
have-
he was the only pet for him
Yeah.
until we didn't get any more pets.
All right.
We had in the house, we had rabbits in the back cage that the kids were supposed to take care of. These
Yeah.
are pets. What was the
BB.
bunny rabbit's name?
BB.
BB.
Yep. BB.
Nobody fed him.
But we had them in the house too,
Yeah. Pooped all over the place.
and chewed all the wires.
What you call the poop?
Hmm?
What they call smart pills or something?
Yeah. Well, that was being wise guy with the kids. Here.
But anyway, I go out the back, and the poor animal hasn't been fed or watered, and I don't know how long. Long nails, so we had to get rid of that. Then Dad decides to have mice. We have fish. We had gerbils. Then we had rats.
No, what's the other small thing with the little dinky tail?
Hamsters.
Yeah, hamster. Yeah.
We had them all. But like Tom, he never does things easy. You get an aquarium, put a fish in it, okay? We got a fish. No. We got to buy, what are those fish with the angel things?
Yeah. We had a bunch
and
of
some
different-
stripe thing.
Yeah, there was all kinds of
Then
different-
he goes to the lake, or
No, I bought it from a store.
no, he goes to a pond or lake and gets frogs.
No, I bought those.
You bought the
Yes,
frogs?
they were underwater frogs. I bought them from the store because they were this big. I said, "Man, they're cute as hell."
That'll
right?
be cute there.
Yeah, so I put those in the aquarium, and we started looking, and over the days, there's not as many fish in there. Okay, after a while, there's only one fish in there, and it's the angelfish, because he was the biggest, and the frogs were like this.
They were so over.
They couldn't move because they ate all the damn fish.
So we do away with fish.
Yeah.
Then he decides we're going to do mice.
Wait a minute, who did I give the frogs to?
I don't know.
The bus driver.
Oh, Post.
K
Post.
Because
Yeah.
she had an outside
Thing.
pool.
Those frogs, this little
Yeah.
bitty frog, I swear, no bigger than that,
Well, they
were
didn't,
like this.
they told me they were adults, but they weren't adults.
So then he decides he's going to do mice.
Well, we had mice because Jimmy, we were
supplying the
supplying
snake.
Jimmy Bonavita would, and then we sold some back to the pet store.
Yeah. And you know, that was a wonderful thing too. They stunk to high heaven. Oh,
Oh man.
I said, okay, they got to go.
So
And then the rats, they were really good, except they had bigger poop and more urine.
And I wouldn't let them keep those at the house.
So I had to keep those at work. I worked for CS Hines septic tank people, and they had a big warehouse, so I put them out in the warehouse. Secure cage. One day I come in, there's a gray rat in the cage with the two white rats, and they had killed the gray rat. So then I killed the two white rats because I don't know if they got diseased or whatever. So we ended that situation.
Then we had Bart. Period.
Yeah.
That was awful. Ugh.
so this is just a general question too. Like, what do you consider your best skill?
Skill?
Yeah.
I don't have any skills. I cook.
What
Yeah.
do you think your best skill is?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I have
Frugal.
many
Being
skills.
frugal.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy either because he thinks, like they say, oh, I got checks. He
I
has
still
no
have money in the bank.
sense. And now he uses the card. We just slap it around.
What about you, Gavin?
PayPal.
It's working.
Is your best skill spending money, I guess?
It's working.
Well, let's go into being a grandparent. What do you consider the best thing about being a grandparent?
Grandchildren. That is the best thing. And we have some wonderful grandchildren. Oh, when I think about how wonderful they are, that
Well,
to me.
we need to start with the spouses, though, because if we didn't
That's a whole
if
nother
we
video.
didn't have really good,
Yes, we have to say that. But our grandchildren are the best thing going. And we have such pride in our grandchildren. I mean, look at them. I mean, they're all good looking, all of them. There's not a throwaway in the bunch. They're all educated. They're all they're all so good. I mean, how can you not love? Everybody likes them, you know. And each one has a very unique personality. I mean, when I look at Jennifer, I see Jennifer as ambitious. I see Michael. Right now he's not in a good place, but he'll get there. Michael is sweet. Matthew is sweet. You know, I mean, Matthew's such a sweet guy. Brian, I mean, he's come alive. Caitlin's been alive. But then you have Bailey, who is so well-rounded. And then you got Paige, who's alive and vivacious. You know, I mean, they're all wonderful kids. That's the best thing about being grandparents. Other than grandparents.
Over your entire life to this point, what do you think, what event had the greatest impact?
Event.
I think moving down here.
Mine was my father. Because it changed my life from this 180.
Getting sick or passing away or just...
Huh?
And getting injured?
Yes. Because I don't think I would be in this place had he not gotten hurt. And it changed my life. Now, you got to remember, I was in high school when this happened. And it just...
And yours was to move down here?
Yeah, I think it was hard leaving family up there because they accepted me. I mean, everybody was amazing up there as far as family goes, and everybody was behind you. But I just felt that we both opened up a bunch when we moved down here.
Yeah, I think it made us more independent because I could see if we had stayed in Springfield, it would have crushed any individuality because that's the way it is. I mean, I look at
Well, those
my
people,
brother, I look at my nieces, my nephews.
they're still there.
They do the same thing. There's the younger kids have a little bit more adventure, but it would have been stifling, you know.
What information that you've learned later in life that you wish you knew earlier in your life?
Now, I don't know. I wish I was wiser.
About what?
I don't know, about some decisions I made. I wish I had gone to school, higher learning, but back then you didn't need higher education. I mean, high school got you a job. You stayed in that job until you retired.
We were talking about some financial decisions and stuff like that. I mean, was there anything about...
Well, I wish we had looked at more houses. I wish Tom had a job that paid better. I wish Tom stayed in a job. But that's one of my regrets. Tom never settled into a job. It always was the next job was better. And he always did. The next job was always better. But you can't hop from job to job and get some security. And that's what I needed. I needed security. And I got it when I went to
Some of the
work.
jobs, though, the company went under, so I had to
Yeah.
leave.
But
You know?
again, it was that movement, you know? It was that unsettled ground.
Well, what would you, for just your children, what advice would you just give your children at this point in your life?
I say, hang in there. That's about it. Love each
Yeah.
other and hang in there.
it's so different now to be able to say what kind of advice can you give, because it's different for each person. You know, the best education that you can get, do that, and always look forward. Don't look, gee whiz, I wish I did so and so, because if you do that, you're not really progressing. You need to look forward, get the best education you can have,
Would that be the same advice
And-
for your grandchildren too, or would you give them different?
and be a friend to most people. Don't look at the ugly side of everybody. Look at the good side of everybody.
You know, to my children, I'd say you start with 2, and remember, you end with 2. Your children will not be part of your life forever, you know, living with you. You can't give your children your life. Your life is with your wife or your husband. That's the relationship you need to nurture and enjoy, because in the end, there's only the 2 of you.
What about your grandchildren? Do you have any advice for them?
Oh gosh, those kids, I don't know. They're so different, and I just think they need to seek their own level. You know, you've got to be satisfied with what you are. And if you get that satisfaction by doing whatever you do, be happy. And you know what else I wish I'd given my grandchildren? My faith. I wish I had given them. That's one of my regrets. You talk about regrets. I did not teach my children enough about my faith, Catholicism, because I think faith draws you closer. And I didn't do that well enough. I let it go.
What she's talking about regrets, Dad. Do you have any regrets?
Yeah, should have stayed in the service and had a retirement from that. Some of the cars that I had, wish I saved them.
We'd have a museum.
Because, yeah, I have a friend that has a museum, but anyhow, you know, stuff like that. But I think probably the better one would be, had I really paid more attention and stayed in the service, instead of thinking I know it all, you know, I can do this. So, I mean, we have done all right in the beginning. We weren't doing well, but I think everybody has that learning experience that they have to go for. We have found out, don't carry a balance in your credit cards, but over the years, matter of fact, when we came down here, we owed Sears money. And I said, screw it, we're leaving Massachusetts, we don't care, you know? So we left. Well, came down here, there was a Sears down here, and they had my account. When I went in to get the credit card, they said, oh yeah, we got you right here, Mr. Southard. And by the way, you owe. So I found out about that stuff, about following you forever. And nowadays, don't give your phone number to anybody, because they can, what's your phone number? Dial it and bingo, up you come. So it's the technology nowadays has really, really jumped ahead. So.
I think the thing that I learned when we came down here is, if you need a loan, go to a bank. Don't go to
Oh.
loan companies.
Yeah, we went to a loan company when we first came down. That was, matter of fact, we went there twice.
I mean, you
And,
learn those things,
yeah.
yeah. But you know, again, in the house hunting episode, my mother and father never owned their own house. The house that they came over, they rented apartments. And the year my father got hurt, they had saved $1,000. Now you got to think, this is 55, and they were going to buy a 2-tenement house. Well, my father got hurt, so that washed away. So we never had the experience of looking at a house, making an assessment. We never had anybody tell us, hey, before you go into that house, check the plumbing. In the house we live in, we never even went under the house.
Yeah.
What kind of heat do you have? I don't know.
The only reason we bought that house, we were renting in Massachusetts for $125 a month, a 6-room apartment. When we moved down here, we were looking to rent. And then the lady said, well, you can buy for a little less than that for the same size house. So I said, well, let's look at them. The place we bought was $70 a month. So we said, wow, we're saving all that money. But it was $70 a month. And, we thought, that's amazing. Maybe it's because we're living down the south.
No counseling.
$11,000 was a
mentors.
total. Well, $11,500.
500, yeah. And we borrowed the down payment from Nana.
$1,000 down payment.
So what?
Can't do that
Speaking of
nowadays.
Nana and Grandpa and Nani and Nano, what do you remember most about them? You could talk about your own parents. So, what do you remember most about their personality, about what they did, about what struck you from them?
My mother, she was personified love. That's it.
Mm.
She didn't care who you were. She didn't care what you were about. If she loved you, there was nothing wrong with you. You could have a wart on the end of your nose. She'd say, look at how beautiful that wart is. That was her personality. She loved people.
Mm-hmm.
My father, on the other hand, was kind of a hard-headed guy. Whatever he said, that was the way it was. And my mother was the dominant. My mother was a very, very strong woman. She had to be.
What about your parents then?
I just remember them being nice. They had a lot of friends. We visited people a lot as far as in the neighborhood and stuff like that, but they
So social. They're
They
very
just-
social. They're very social people.
yeah.
You know, what I remember about his mother and father, Tom has his father's personality. Al never met a stranger. That kind of thing. And his mother was the dominant one. And I think that's why he married a strong woman.
So
I knew that was coming out.
Speaking of that, what do you want to be remembered for?
Remembered for loving. I think that's what I want. I just want my kids to be happy and love me, and I love them. What else can you wish for your children?
Well, what do you want to be remembered for? Just the fact that
I love my family.
Yeah.
My family. My family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. That's my life. My family is my life. You can't tear that away from me.
are you dead? Follow that.
Me.
always tried to be the the person that took care of everything. You know, she would be worried about. I would come home and say, "Well, this company, OL Everett, they closed their shop today, and I don't have a job." But I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get another job tomorrow." And most of the time, it wouldn't take long at all. And so I would like to be remembered that I was a provider. And I loved the kids, and all of them had cars, being a little car, but all of them everybody had a car. Beth didn't want a Renault, so she bought her own car. But that's about it. And making sure everybody was okay.
All right, last question. Do you feel that you've had a happy and fulfilled life?
I have. I want for nothing, and I need nothing. And that's about where I am. And money. I mean, we got a $2,800. Just comes in the mail.
Yeah, Uncle dropped it in the mailbox.
But truly.
Yeah.
I am at a point in my life that I do not seek anything, monetary, furniture. If I eat, fine. If I don't, that's okay too. But that's one of my big things.
Eating.
3 meals a day.
12 o'clock comes, she said, "Are you going to have lunch?"
But, I mean, that's what I am very content right here. I know I've got my faith. I've got 4 healthy kids. I got 4 spouses that love my kids. And I have 7 grandchildren. That's my heart.
Call them the Magnificent Seven.
The Magnificent
Yeah.
7.
Because that's how they are up on the wall.
I mean, look at them. I mean,
What about you, Dad?
Well, there is one problem child out of the 4. But other than that, everybody's doing well.
So about Sandy.
And now everybody's thinking, which one is he talking about? No, everybody, we are ditto to what she said. There is absolutely no regret that we have, or that I have even, for everything that's happened. Because if we change something, I
whole
forgot
dynamics
what
falls
the
away.
movie was, but if you change one little thing, the rest of it, and I'm thinking, buying that house in that neighborhood, we don't know if the neighborhood, if we bought another place, if the neighborhood would have been as nice as that. And all of those people that lived around us and we grew up with, and they grew up with us, it's kind of neat.
we have friends. 50 years. Friends.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Gene and Bob. I mean, I've known Gene forever.
Yeah.
And,
I met him in the late 60s.
you set your feet upon a path. And I think our path, we hit a few of those. And then we had a few of those. But our path has been righteous. Because in the end, I think we only have to answer to one person. And I hope when we answer, I can say, I did my best. What more
Yeah.
could you ask for?
That's it. Oh, who's your favorite child?
Hmm?
Who's your favorite child?
Who's my favorite child? Which question was that? I would like to have a favorite child, but how do you choose?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll give you some advice.
And you know what? You meet the needs that need to be met.
Thank you guys. That was great. Appreciate it.
Sandy,
Pause. I paused it before they came out.
I saw you push it, so just to bust her ass.